If you say handheld gaming today, people think of the Nintendo Switch, the 3DS. Go back a little bit and it's the DS, the Game Boy Advance. But if you go all the way back to the early 80s and the late 70s, you get things like these. And you get this beauty. This is Wildfire Electronic Pinball from our good friends over at Parker Brothers. But this Wildfire has a little bit of a problem. It's in pieces. And we're going to try to put it back together and see if it works. That's today on Tech Guy Life.
You played a lot of pinball, but here's the ultimate pinball challenge. Pinball with a speeding ball of light. Super sensitive flippers. Light up the bumpers. Pile up the bonus points. It's a whole new kind of pinball because fits in the palm of your hand. Wildfire electronic pinball from Parker Brothers. Pinball at the speed of light in the palm of your hand.
So I've taken a look and it looks like everything is here, as far as I can tell. And other than being a little dirty, it's in pretty good shape. One of the big problems, though, is going to be in the battery compartment. If I can get it open without destroying everything. All right, there we go. We've got some really disgusting, degrading foam on there. And then we have these. These battery terminals are some of the worst I have ever seen. First thing I'm going to do is we're going to disconnect the power wires so that we can get the bottom case away from everything else. Okay, so we got the wires disconnected. Let's get these terminals out and we'll do our favorite thing of soaking them in vinegar and see if we can bring it back to life. Not sure if that's going to work this time, but we'll give it a try. Easy enough to, let it soak, and then we'll test the continuity afterwards just to see if it does work still. So there's a little plastic tab right behind these pieces that is kind of like the clip-in point. So I just have to bend it out a little and kind of push it down. There we go. And it'll come out. Okay. Let's get some vinegar on that. Let's see if it can be salvaged. So testing this out, the buttons still click really well. So they're still very clicky. Well, that one's a little less clicky, but it still seems to click. This one's very clicky as well. So I don't foresee any problems there, but what I want to do is take a little closer look at the board and see if any of these solder joints have weakened over the years. Okay, so I have the bench power supply hooked up, and I'm suspecting that this thing is just going to work. There didn't seem to be any problems on the board. It's 70s electronics, so it probably could take a couple of, good shots of anything and still survive. So I have the bench power supply hooked up. I'm going to just send it 8.5 volts. The power switch is 3 ways. It's a 3 switch. So it's off, standard sound, and soft sound. So let's see if it actually fires up. Yep, look at that. It lit up. So it's got a tube counter in there with little numbers. Well, those are really tiny. And there's our paddles on the screen. And I think this is the fire the ball. Or how do we start? Oh, like that. Okay, well, sound's working. I don't know what that means. I didn't even get it out of the chute. But hey, as soon as we fix the battery terminals, this thing's going to go back together really quickly. So let's just let's turn it off. Let's give it a cleaning and go from there. Cleaning the battery compartment cover is going to be a little bit more of a challenge. The foam that was on there absolutely disintegrated. It turned into dust as soon as I touched it. So I kind of want to preserve the label on the other side, even though it really isn't all that important. So I'm going to try cleaning this side with some isopropyl alcohol and see if I can get the stickiness off just this side, and then just kind of wipe it down and see if we can keep that sticker, because it's, you know, it's part of its je ne sais quoi. Well, I actually got the old adhesive that the foam was on to just come off, so that's nice. Now it'll just be some isopropyl alcohol in order to remove the old adhesive. So we'll just let some IPA sit on there and soak a little bit, and hopefully that glue residue will just wipe right off. So we got the battery door cleaned up as best as possible. We're going to clean the display, or the plastic display. Well, I think that is about as good as it's going to get. There are definitely some, you know, wear scratches, and there's some sort of weird scratching on the back side of the display that I can't seem to get off, either with Windex or isopropyl alcohol. Last thing I got to clean is the actual display here. So I'm just going to gently wipe this off. Let's check on our battery terminal pieces, and they are in there just bubbling away. So we've got a lot of it off already, you know, compared to the fact that they were actually like pretty much blue when they went in, or bluey green, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if you can see that there. Yeah, you can. A lot of the stuff's gone. There's still tarnish and, yeah, basically just tarnish and rough spots on the metal, but we're just going to leave that sit some more, and then maybe we can polish up the terminals with a grinder. So I took the main shell pieces and I took them out to the sink, and I'm giving them a good, you know, bubbly bath in some bubbly dish soap water. So those are off drying. The one thing I have noticed that is missing from this is the screws. So I don't know what size screws to put into this unit. So we're going to have to do some trial and error there. I know they won't be, you know, special custom screws, but just finding the right size and the right thread. All right, so we got our contacts back out of the vinegar, and they definitely still need some work. They're better than they were, obviously, but there's still a lot of rust, surface rust, and tarnish on there. So let's get them cleaned up I'm going to try using grinder polisher thing. I got the battery terminals cleaned up as best as I could. They're in rough shape. They really are. But the only thing that matters is their continuity, and is there good continuity between the points. So let's test that out. So multimeter is in continuity mode. Let's see how much resistance there is. And there's hardly any. So those are good. That's good. That's good. And those are good. So as long as those contacts get good contact to the batteries, we should be good to go. So I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try and put a little bit of solder on the actual contacts, just to put something on there. Yeah, see, this one here is not taking any solder. So that one definitely needs more polishing. This one is not taking a lot either. See if that makes it any better. Yep, much better. Now we'll just remove some of the solder from the contacts just to make sure that nothing's blobbing up. All right, let's get these battery terminals back into the bottom case. Wait. Those were a lot easier to put back in than they were to take out. So all of those are back in now. They're as good as they're going to get, I think. My only problem is if one of them breaks, because some of the metal, like where the metal fold is, it's pretty fatigued. All right, it's time to try to reassemble this thing. I've never seen it assembled, so I don't exactly know how this all goes back together. I did sort of figure out that the speaker sits in the back like that, and then the board sits in like so. So what is missing? Well, it appears to be in all the way. I think it just needs the pressure of the top part on it to hold it all in. So first we need to do is we need to get these wires hooked back up. Okay, so based on the battery compartment, you can see that this terminal is the one that gets the power. So it is the positive terminal, and this one is the negative terminal. So positive is here, which is red, according to the board, and the black is negative, which goes down there. So we can simply attach those. And from testing from the power supply, the bench power supply, we do know that these wires are fine because the bench power supply worked with it. So let's get this back into the case. I'm going to take this piece of foam and I'm going to apply it to the back of the speaker, just using a piece of Captain tape. What it will do is it keeps the speaker upright against the board so that when we put the lid on, it's standing up and it should hopefully fit together better. We're almost ready to put the lid on, but we have some important critical things to put back together. We have to put back in the buttons, which clip in. There we go. So they just kind of rest in there, and then they have a lip on the outside so that you can't push them too far down. We'll have to find out if that's going to be an issue with some of these buttons, if they're up enough in order to be pushed down again. Just like that. Let's give this a wipe down, especially along the edges, because we can't get to that when it's inside the case. I got to find a way to keep these buttons in, because gravity is working against me. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a strip of Captain tape and put it right along the hinge part. So hopefully all that should do is just hold the button, give me a little extra anti-gravity work. I think that's going to do it. Okay, let's bring this back in here, get that lined up. It has interesting clips all around it, so I'm trying to put it on the front edge first and then bring the back part down. think I got it. Yep, got it. Buttons still click. That button clicks. Now it holds together pretty nicely, but it still does need screws. It didn't have any screws, so I found these. These seem to fit the threads and they seem to hold, so let's give them a try. Nope, it's not holding the thread properly. It's just a little too small. Time to get out the box of spare screws. Okay, found some screws. Good. They tighten. They feel good. Buttons still click. All right, let's put some batteries in this thing. Okay, fresh batteries. But let's turn it on. Yeah, it looks like we've got. Oh, there. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, the left paddle is a little. I have no idea where the ball is. Am I hitting the ball? Oh, I think I hit the ball a couple times. Ugh. That was groovy. Well, the Wildfire Pinball is working. We had such low expectations for handheld video games in the 70s and early 80s. I don't remember this. I've never seen it before. It was just given to me before Christmas, and they said, "Hey, you could probably fix this," and I did. But I think I know where I can put the Wildfire Pinball that will be best served by all of humanity. Back in the box. Well, that's it for this week. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.